Hi guys, welcome back TV Spoilers. Today I'm going to reveal a horrifying secret that Mariah has kept hidden for a long time. Mariah reveals a shocking secret. It's time she confessed the truth. During the visit, Mariah, in a state of mental instability but sometimes lucidity, reveals a horrifying secret about Ian Ward or another character connected to her past, implying that Dominic's kidnapping wasn't entirely her own doing but may have been part of someone else's larger plan, or that she was manipulated by a third party other than Ian Ward. This prompts Abby to investigate further, possibly involving a new threat to Dominic or the Newman family. Mariah enters the visit like someone who has just woken up from a long-lasting nightmare, her eyes sometimes hazy as if covered in mist, sometimes shining with a terrifying intensity as if someone had just pulled back the curtain in her head. The air in the room was already cold, but Mariah's instability made it even colder. A kind of cold that made you hear your own heartbeat and feel each passing second as heavy as stone. Mariah was no longer simply a girl panicking with guilt, nor was she entirely someone being led astray by hallucinations. She was like a bent clock hand, spinning wildly but occasionally stopping precisely, pointing directly at a truth she herself feared to face. And it was these rare moments of lucidity that were terrifying. They weren't noisy, not explosively dramatic, but silently like a thin blade gliding across the skin, enough to make Abby understand that this time, Mariah didn't just want forgiveness or to recount fragmented memories. She wanted to confess. She wanted to say something that, if kept inside for another minute, would cause her to completely fall apart. Mariah desperately wanted to see Abby privately, not because she didn't trust Sharon or Devin, but because in her confused mind, Abby was the most direct anchor connecting her to Dominic. Abby was the mother of the child Mariah had taken, hidden, and become the focal point of a collective chase and fear. Mariah's guilt was no longer a soft, tearful pang. It was a heavy weight pressing down on her chest, making each breath feel like a self-accusation. Yet amidst that guilt, something else was rising, a deeper, darker panic. Not just because she had done wrong, but because she was beginning to understand that she might have been led to do wrong. This didn't make her innocent, and Mariah knew that. But it changed the nature of the nightmare. If it had all been a momentary impulse and a fit of rage, Abby might hate her, society might punish her, and the story would end in a harsh but familiar way. But if there was a third hand, a mastermind behind it all, then Dominic's return home wasn't the end, but merely a brief respite before another storm. In the pauses between her fragmented sentences, Mariah tried to organize her thoughts like picking up shreds of broken glass scattered across the floor. She didn't beat around the bush, as if she herself feared that if she spoke too much, the thing clinging to her head would awaken and drag her back into her delusional state. Mariah went straight to the core issue with a fierce, both desperate and clear-headed determination. Dominic's kidnapping wasn't entirely her own doing. She admitted to being impulsive, weak, and believing things she shouldn't have, but in the process, she felt herself being influenced, driven, and constantly prompted as if someone were standing beside her, invisible, but always knowing how to tap into the deepest cracks in her soul. Mariah didn't say she was hypnotized in a mystical way. She describes it as a sophisticated chain of events, timely reminders, details of the past dug up in a way that disorients her, escape routes drawn up as a toxic consolation. What chills Abby isn't the idea that Mariah is being manipulated, but the way Mariah tells it, as if she's recognized the pattern, seen the structure of the trap, only to realize it was too late. Mariah mentions Ian Ward, but not in the way everyone expects. Ian in her story isn't the only ghost, not the sole source of all fear, and not the only one who can unsettle her. Ian appears as a name that's too convenient, too familiar, too suitable to be the center of all explanations. Mariah speaks of Ian as a symbol of exploited, a demon everyone believes exists, so simply mentioning his name is enough to draw suspicion from those around her, inadvertently overlooking other clues. In Mariah's mind, Ian was like a pawn pushed forward to shield the real master. Abby sensed it clearly in that moment. Mariah wasn't trying to deny guilt or evade responsibility. She was trying to pull Abby out of her rut, out of the most believable story to look at something more dangerous because it was more invisible. From the writer's perspective, what chilled me wasn't Mariah realizing she was being manipulated, but the possibility that she was right. That sometimes the most dangerous people aren't those shouting in the open, but those lurking in the shadows, patient enough to turn one person's psychological trauma into a switch to control an entire family. I also can't deny another unsettling feeling. Hearing Mariah confess that Ian was just a pawn, I suddenly felt as if someone was laughing behind the screen of their lives, laughing at having made them all chase after a name that was all too familiar. And if Abby, Sharon, and Devin start investigating and still find nothing clear, that's even more terrifying. Because it could mean the perpetrator left no trace, or worse, the trace is in the very places they believe to be the safest. Abby's determined to uncover the truth, but that determination is like walking down a long, dark corridor filled with only the echoes of fear and love for Dominic. The fourth door has just opened with Mariah's confession, and what unsettles me is the feeling that behind that door lies not only the answer, but also another blow waiting to strike when they think they're closest to the truth.